Hello and welcome to episode 186 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm that bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRP. Join me as always is the Empyrean League Freak. You can find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm pretty good. What does Imperium actually mean?
The highest part of heaven.
Oh, really? Gonna have to
Thought by
use
the
that one.
ancients thought by the ancients to be the realm of pure fire.
Oh, okay. That sounds interesting. Yeah, I'm up for that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, there we go. I thought that would be a good one. And look, it's honest and accurate.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is. We like to be honest with our listeners, and you know,
This is what we do.
yeah, we try to.
Honest, accurate, godlike.
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
That's a tick in every box. Um, yeah, had a bit of an idea for a few things to discuss in this one. You
Yeah,
you come up with a brilliant idea.
yeah, and we scrapped that. Um,
No, we'll still do it.
we'd
Chuck
still
it
do
in.
what? Which one?
Whatever your great idea was, fuck it, let's just do it.
You want to do that one instead?
No, just do all of them. Let's just do every idea possible.
Jeez, let's just do a 5-hour podcast.
Done.
Excellent.
Done.
Sweet. All right, what do you want to talk about first?
I don't care.
Well, how about we talk about Phil Gould's brilliant idea that the National Rugby League just buys Super League, just buys it, all of it.
That's brilliant. Phil Gould was pretty pretty open in his complaints about the NRL wasting money
Hmm.
when Todd Greenberg was there.
Yeah.
And so this is one of Phil Gould's great ideas that wouldn't be wasting money at all.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one thing that we've known for many years, it's that English Rugby League knows how to hold on to a dollar or a pound. It depends what it is.
It
And
would
yeah,
be an appreciating asset.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
They could buy something that's concrete. They're all of these people that were saying, oh, by the way, right, I got to bring this up. Phil Gould is on 100% footy or whatever the fuck they call it on Channel 9 right now.
hmm
And you know what he's been saying? That he doesn't understand why they scrapped the national youth competition.
Oh, he's been banging on about this all day.
Yeah. Now, who was banging that drum to scrap it more than him? Like
Yeah,
he wanted it scrapped for years and years and years, and now he's saying that it shouldn't have been scrapped. It's brilliant. But anyway, he thinks we should buy Super League. Now I've considered this on my website in the past from time to time. I've said that what would happen if, say, the NRL took a controlling interest in, say, the London Broncos or something like that. But the problems that you would encounter buying Super League, I mean, they're varied, they're multi-layered, and the biggest one that I can think of is that you could buy Super League and realize that you haven't actually bought anything. Similar to when the UFC bought Pride for like $40 million. And it turned out that they weren't actually buying anything. They really just got their back catalogue of videos. So I feel like this would be a similar move.
but without the videos.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. A lot of
Um,
footage that no one wants to watch.
the only thing I can think of that could be done here is that every single NRL team, well, not every single one of them, nearly every single NRL team would affiliate themselves with a Super League team
Hmm.
and have the Super League team as a feeder club. And you have to match this up, not in a way that makes sense, because the whole purchasing of Super League makes zero sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
I was thinking what you do is you just sort of look at the geographics of it all and go, right, London, maybe they could go with Canberra.
Hmm.
Okay, because they're the second most southernmost team in the Super League,
Yeah.
much like Canberra is on the mainland. So which means that Catalan Dragons would have to be merged with the Melbourne Storm because,
Does that mean that like Hull KR would
well,
be affiliated with the Brisbane Broncos?
we'll get there in a sec.
Okay.
So my reasoning for why the Catalan Dragons would be with the Melbourne Storm is because it's southernmost team in the competition.
Yeah.
Um, Everyone in that area that supports Catalan all come from another country and speak a completely different language that no one understands.
Yeah.
And they all tend to follow a different sport that makes no sense.
Yeah.
And then, we've got to look into, I suppose, that whole section there along the major highway there in England.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at the east to west.
Yeah.
So I think you'd be looking at the whole teams.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them's going to have to be the Sydney Roosters.
Well, they could be whole KR because I'm trying to think why that would work.
Yeah. I'm thinking more maybe Souths.
Souths. That's
Souths
whole
and
KR.
Hull KR. Yeah. And maybe have Hull FC with the Sydney Roosters.
I can't have that. As a Hull FC fan, I can't have that.
You can't have it?
No.
Yeah, I don't know what other alternative options there are available there.
See, there is some sort of like between Souths and Hull KR, because Souths fans don't have any teeth, and Hull KR fans tend to lose their teeth because of all of the meth use.
That's a very, very fair comparison.
Yeah. So, and Hull KR, I mean, when you look at Hull KR and then Hull FC, which is just a higher level of humanity, completely, So, I really think that Hull FC would just stand on their own 2 feet.
You don't think they need to be affiliated with an NRL club?
Nah, they're too strong.
Well, I mean, that kind of shits on the whole idea.
Well, the whole idea is a bit shit, to be fair.
True.
And like, what are you buying? I don't know what you're buying when you buy Super League. Like,
you're just buying a financial drain, is what you're buying.
Yeah, and because you're not buying the clubs. And even if you did buy the clubs...
Well, you probably are, but still, it's still a financial drain as well.
Well, yeah, it still is. But just say you buy the clubs, there's not much to some of them clubs as well. Like, I think when Salford were purchased, there wasn't much of Salford that was actually bought. It was kind of an idea.
Concept, if you will.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, there'd be some clubs that you'd get something out of. Say, for instance, say you brought St Helens. They've got the use of that stadium, which is pretty handy. Mm-hmm. The Leeds Rhinos, I mean, they're a team that has a whole city to themselves. But then, if that's the case, the Bradford Bulls really should have been a good buy, and they haven't been a good buy. It doesn't help that they were really, really badly run, but still.
Bradford could be affiliated with the Sharks.
Yeah.
Got a very big venue that's owned by either them or the league.
Yeah, we still don't know who owns that fucking place.
Very, very well known for both clubs for their financial prowess.
Yep. But Bradford was successful
a while ago.
Yeah.
Briefly.
Yeah.
It's fallen away a bit since then. But it's fallen away to the point where people have actually started to forget about that successful period. Even though the successful period wasn't too long ago, people are kind of forgotten. So I think those two would go well together.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could have the Bradford Bull Sharks.
The Bull Sharks.
God, that just rolls off the tongue.
Who was it? The Shuttersfield Eagles, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who would Huddersfield be aligned with? Like, I'm genuinely thinking the West Tigers.
There is something about Huddersfield and Campbelltown, hey?
Yeah. I was just even thinking, like, just purely results-wise.
Oh, yeah. Just middle of the road, sort of.
Yeah, no one can remember the last time they were regulars in the finals. It just happens every now and then by accident.
Yeah, like a real good season is like, oh, yeah, scraped into the finals.
A real good season is, yes, we got to ninth again.
Yeah.
Who else is there going to be? The Dragons. Link them with.
It would have to be somebody who's had their coach for like 37 years.
And can't get rid of him.
Yeah.
And it's got to the point where you don't know if they're trying to get rid of him or whether they actually want to hang on to him.
Because they can't afford to sack him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, that's a tough one. Who does Sean Wayne coach at the moment?
I think he is an assistant coach for like the Scottish Rugby Union team or something weird like that.
In another tangent,
Yeah.
which we might come back and discuss later, apparently he's been put forward as a possibility to coach the Bulldogs.
Yeah, look, sometimes people suffer major head injuries, and it really scrambles their noggin up a little bit, and they put forward ideas like having, Sean Wayne coaching the Warriors. The best part about the Warriors coaches over the years is if you look at them, unless your name is Ivan, you've been a terrible coach for the Warriors. And they're like, they'll sign someone that's just as bad. You just know it.
Daniel Anderson went okay.
Daniel Anderson went okay, but that's about it.
I wouldn't call him bad, though. I think he went okay.
Ivan Cleary was their best coach, and he just wanted a contract extension. That's all he wanted. So they said, nah, we're not doing that. And it worked out great for them.
Yeah. Then he got tired.
He got tired at Penrith, and
I think he gets tired everywhere.
Do you reckon?
Yeah, he's got a bit of a lethargy about him that it just creeps in every few years.
He's got Penrith humming along now.
He's full of beans at the moment, but give him 2 years, he'll start getting tired.
See, now that he hasn't got Phil Gould looking over his shoulder and fucking everything up at Penrith, I think he'll go well. I think we've got a lot of success coming our way over the next couple of years.
Ah.
The
Gus factor.
Yeah, the Gus factor. But back to the idea of buying Super League. I don't know what the NRL gets out of it. They don't get talent because any talented players come over here anyway, and they're not that talented. They don't get, they're not going to make money because no one's making money in Super League. You would have to really break everything down and rebuild it from the ground up. I just don't see any reason why it would be a good idea these days in any way at all. Like, and even if you looked at, say, NRL clubs buying into Super League clubs, I just don't know what they get out of it. Like, they're not getting it from a junior development pathway because
there's no junior development in England.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the junior development in England is basically being shot in the head and is rotting in a fucking field somewhere at the moment. So I just don't know what you get out of it at all. I think Super League has so many problems that Super League has to fix itself before it looks like any sort of appealing proposition for anybody to invest in at all.
Tell you what, Super League would get an awful lot out of it if the NRL came along and bought it.
Well, they would, but what is the goal of doing something like that? You would want to build up rugby league in the UK. I think the only way that you could do it is if, say, you bought Super League, you'd have to buy all the clubs. And then the NRL would have to just be ruthless and say, look, we're not having a team we're not having Castleford and Wakefield right next door. One of them's getting moved. We're having to bring back Bradford because they're in a city.
What you do is you say, right,
they'd have to do.
Well, I think what you do is say, right, we've bought the Super League.
Yeah.
And with that, we're going to put forward 16 teams who can be in our top division competition. And you have to come to us and argue why you deserve to be one of those 16 license holders.
Yeah.
And obviously they're going to talk to the teams in the current Super League. And then, you look at things like, how close you are to another area, success, that sort of thing. And that would also mean that, would you really want to have Leeds and Huddersfield in there at the same time? You sort of start looking at ideas like that. Salford is an absolute must. And as you said, Bradford has to be there. And you got to start looking at those large regional areas, which we've spoken about in previous episodes.
Yeah.
And the other thing that would have to happen is promotion relegation would have to be shot in the arse.
Oh yeah, 100%. Because like if they want to have investment into these teams, you can't have there being a trapdoor where your investment just goes out the window because you have a bad year. Because if you look at the NRL, we've had the Panthers, we've had the Storm, we've had the Eels, we've had the Roosters, we've had the Titans. I mean, pretty much every team has won a wooden spoon over the last 20 years. And if those teams were relegated, who would we have in the NRL right now? It'd be a mess.
That's right. And that constant revolving door makes it hard to get long-term sponsors. Which,
it really does.
If the Super League's honest, they could look at it and go, that might be a reason why we've got teams that are struggling for sponsorship while we're giving away the naming rights or whatever it is of the game to truck drivers and for free.
Yeah, that Stobart deal, I could not believe that when they.
It's still the craziest shit I've ever heard.
It just trashed their ability to sell that major sponsorship.
Made them a joke.
It really did.
Like, we could laugh at them and stuff like that from afar prior to that, but they were at least were able to get a good sponsorship deal the whole time and still make money and work towards something there. But as soon as they gave away the sponsorship for free, you immediately took away the game's right to, trade for itself and give itself any sort of standpoint to work from. You can imagine if you go to your next sponsor after Stobart and say, look, we want to get, say, $150 million over 10 years for this game. Every sponsors are going to go, why should we pay for it? You allowed Stobart to get away with it for free.
Exactly.
How do you negotiate from that point? That's
exactly.
So stupid.
I had so many people that would argue with me that it was a great deal. And their idea was that, well, we're going to have all of these moving billboards going all across the UK. And it's like, you gave away one of the very few assets you have for stickers on trucks. And I could not get it through to some people. And look, there's so many terrible decisions the Rugby Football League's made with Super League over the years. And my real concern right now is that they have tried so many different things and none of it's working. And they kind of look at Super League and it's just a boring competition. It's really, really boring. Like, we're down to a couple of teams are now in the chase for it every year. Only 4 teams have ever won Super League, ever. And like, what is the goal? Obviously they're trying to reach out and get these, they've got Toronto, which is great, having them in there. Caroline Dragons are great. Hopefully they get Toulouse in. But all of the English stuff is boring. And one day, all of these expansion clubs are going to get together and say, hang on a second, why are we having to be the ones that carries the rest of Super League? Why don't we just make our own league? Chuck a few extra teams in there, play like three games against each other every year and just have our own comp.
This is a question I've got now is what's going to happen at the end of the year if Toronto get relegated? Because that's where they are at the moment. Like, they're coming last in Super League. So relegation's a real thing. What happens to that Toronto team after all those years of building up a successful, strong team? They finally get their crack at Super League and bang, they're out the door on their ass after one season. And it's one bad season where they've hardly won a game.
Yeah, a really bad season.
It decimates everything they've worked for in the space of a few months.
I don't know who's doing their recruitment, but they are destroying any chance that club has of success. I mean, to look at someone like Callum Watkins and to see what he has not done over so many years now, and to see what he was just completely useless at the Titans. And for anybody to go and chase him and bring him in, like, what were they thinking?
It's got me beat.
And they've got a terrible coach. Brian McDermott is just a terrible coach. And I don't want to hear anyone say, oh, he won Super League titles. There are some of the worst professional coaches in the history of Rugby League have won Super League titles. Some of them have won multiple Super League titles. You know, winning Super League titles is easy. You just got to be at the right club at the right time when
Exactly.
they want to outspend everyone.
Yeah, the current Gold Coast Titans coach won a Super League title.
Yeah, and look how they're going. Like, they've had one decent victory in his whole time there. And it was against a team that just fucking rolled over and died. You know,
Yeah.
I heard on the weekend somebody saying, oh, I wish I could remember who it was. They were saying Nathan Brown would be a good coach for the New Zealand Warriors. And they were saying, oh, he did well up in Newcastle, except it all went terrible at the end. And he was really successful in England. And I'm thinking to myself, anytime you hear somebody say so-and-so was a successful coach in England, write them off. Put a big red mark through their name.
He, I'm I'm under the impression Nathan Brown is a very particular coach for a very particular purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And that purpose is you've got a lot of deadwood, you need to clean it out. He's good at doing that. He did it at Huddersfield, he did it at Newcastle. He's not the coach you go to when you've got an entire country's worth of players to pick from, and you desperately need success more than anything else. He's not the person you go to. I'd be going, if I was them, I'd be going so hard after Tuvey. No one else. Just go, right, we need Jeff Tuvey. He's our bloke we're going after. Someone chase him down and ask him how much he wants for the gig.
I agree 100%. I don't rate Nathan Brown at all. You know, he took over a pretty good St. George Illawarra team and did jack shit with them. Went over to England, you know, and the success he had in England, who cares? Come back to the Knights, took them from being wooden spooners to just not being wooden spooners, caused a bunch of drama along the way and then quit on them. Like, I don't rate him. If he never got another NRL coaching gig, I think it'd probably be a good thing.
Would he be better than Matthew Elliott? I mean, Elliott is the yardstick.
He is the yardstick for being absolutely hopeless.
If you found out that Penrith are looking for a new coach and it's down to Nathan Brown and Elliott again, which one are you going to tell Penrith to sign?
I would probably go with Nathan Brown. Because hopefully Nathan Brown will quit. You know, Matthew Elliott ain't fucking quitting.
No. So, let's bring in some teacups and some little tea set. I've got a nice little china set here, some bloody wind chimes, got some herbs. Let's get ourselves cozy. Do you reckon he would have brought beanbags in?
I bet he did.
He'd be the sort of person to bring in...
like the sort of beanbags that are like real close to the ground, not the traditional ones. They're like flat on the ground. Probably sits down, crosses his legs when he's going to talk to a player. He says, "Come and sit down with me. Have some of my herbal tea." And like you're thinking, man, this is fucking weird. Drink the tea, and then when you're done, you put the thing there, and he goes and he grabs your cup and he looks and he starts reading the tea leaves, and you're like, "Oh my god, he set me up this whole time." And the wind chimes are going, and he's burning shit, incense and stuff. He's got an oil burner as well. He's doubling up on it. There's thick with that shit. He's got like a fucking dream catcher, stuff like that. And you're just like, get me the fuck out of this club.
You'd feel like you're being groomed. But in a very unpleasant way.
Yeah.
With no result in the end.
Exactly. Like you walk out of the room and you're like, what the fuck just happened in there?
I want my life back. Where'd it go?
You go up to another player and they say, what did he tell you about the game on the weekend? And you go, I don't know, but he said that when he was reading my palm that there's going to be a big life event in my mid-50s.
Oh, he's such a lovely... He's a good bloke, though. He's a nice fella.
Great bloke. Soul of the earth.
Yeah, most obviously. Do you reckon he'd be the sort of bloke that get those beanbags, and instead of putting the right amount of beanbags in there, he only puts half of them in there just to save a bit of money?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. When you see, like, you know, when you see a beanbag, you look, ooh, beanbag. And then you sink into it and basically your ass hits the ground and you're like, what the fuck? Like, well, they weren't having a sale on the fucking beanbag shit, were they? It was expensive that day when you bought your beanbags.
That's all right. He puts the beans in there purely because he thinks it makes sense. He's not like he's doing a Trent Barrett thing where Trent just goes, I can't afford it anymore. I've already bought the bags and the beans. How many more of these fucking beans do you need to put in there? I can't afford this. So yeah, it'd be that would be a bit of a tragedy there.
We got right off track then.
Yeah,
Uh,
I can't actually see the track.
what did you think about the Warriors getting rid of Stephen Kearney? I thought it was a little bit harsh, but at the same time, his record is absolutely diabolical there. And how long are they supposed to carry on with a terrible coach getting terrible results before they do get rid of him?
I'd like to know why they waited until the absolute wrong moment to finally grow a spine and do something they should have done 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Um, he's just. I think I saw a good summary of him recently, and it pretty much said he tried to be Craig Bellamy in that, tried to build a teams based on good defense and playing simple football, but having really classy players to roll off the back of that. But he neither had a good defense, good systems, or classy players to work with.
Yeah, and look, their junior development has been atrocious as well. While
Has he not been able to get a good crop of youngsters come through there?
Mm,
Or has he not even been able to get a good squad out of there? There's so many New Zealand and Pacific Island players that are currently in the NRL, more than ever in the game's history.
Mm-hmm.
And he somehow hasn't been able to find even half of the best ones to play for the team there. How is your recruitment that bad? And so I can't even blame Kearney entirely because he's not solely responsible for all of that.
No.
The person who's involved in the recruitment as well, recruitment retention, they need to be, they need to be pissed off as well.
I agree.
And at this stage, if they keep those people there and don't change the system, so, I believe Kearney didn't have a huge say in who was being recruited half the time. I dare say he probably said, who he'd like to get.
Mm-hmm.
And they do a guess based on what he said. You go forward and say, oh, look, we really need to get someone like Cameron Munster, a really genuinely good, playmaker at 5'8", and they go, Cameron Munster, Cody Nikorima, that starts with the same sound. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
They both start with a K sound. And they both wear 6, and they both play test footy. God, they're the same player. Let's just do that. Yeah. That's pretty much how their recruitment works at the moment, I think.
See, I think the problem for the Warriors, and look, the Warriors, they've put Todd Payton in there because he's an assistant coach, so now he's the caretaker.
Yeah, look,
and he was talking about like some of their players might go home because they're so upset that Kearney was sacked, and it's like, well, if they're that upset, why didn't they pull their fucking fingers out and play some half-decent football over the last couple of years underneath Kearney?
Because it's a cushy job. Todd Payton's another one of those blokes who, as a coach, he's a good bloke category. And there was a period there when Jason Taylor was about to, looked like he was about to get the sack at the West Tigers.
Yeah.
But Todd Payton was being put forward as the replacement for him.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of the young blokes have been coached by Todd Payton when he was lower grades coach at the West Tigers, and so they all got on well with him. I went, that's not why someone should get picked as a head coach, because a few young blokes like him. And so lucky they didn't go with him.
My opinion of like the sort of person, the sort of people that make good coaches are assholes, because like this idea that you can control what 30 men do to reach a goal. I mean, just the thought that you can do that, you've got to be a certain personality type. There's the sort of people you don't want to get stuck having a conversation with. They're not real friendly. And you look at them, the best coaches are all a bunch of assholes. And I'm sure they'd say it, They're a real certain personality types. And I dare say that being a nice bloke isn't one of them.
No, I agree. Totally agree. Nice bloke coaches, they They never reached premierships. I can't think of any.
Yeah, I can't think of a proper nice bloke that won a premiership.
Yeah, something else I was thinking of too that I wanted to raise
Yeah.
was after the South game on the weekend, there was footage shown in the dressing room of Latrell Mitchell in tears and Wayne Bennett consoling him and having a chat with him.
Yeah.
And Fox Sports kind of got a bit shitty about the fact that no one would tell them why he was upset.
Yeah. Look, I was watching it. First of all, hopefully Latrell's fine. Hopefully he's all right. Whatever was upsetting him, hopefully he's got the support he needs. The thing that got me about the whole situation was after the game was finished, on their panel they had Greg Alexander, they had Corey Parker, and they had Sam Burgess. Now, Sam Burgess and Greg Alexander was like, man, whatever's happening, we don't know what it is. Hopefully he's all right. Sam Burgess was like, I don't know what's going on. We'll find out. Corey Parker was a fucking cunt. He basically sat there and brainstormed what might be something that they can literally come up with. Like he was saying, if they don't tell us what's going on, then the media's just going to speculate all week, which didn't happen, by the way. And I thought Corey Parker's a former player. He should know better than that. I thought it was gross.
It was. The whole treatment of Latrell has been gross. The only thing about what's happened to Latrell Mitchell in the last 12 months that generally needed to be reported on was, the two things. He signed with South, and that he was probably being a bit of a dick with the whole, isolation thing and going out shooting and stuff.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it. Oh, and by the way, in the space of, couple of months, he's looking like a fucking incredible fullback all of a sudden.
Yeah, and we both said it in previous episodes. Just give him a bit of time. He's going to be good. He's played there before. He knows what he's got to do. And, especially the last two games.
He's been incredible.
Really
his passing game, his involvement in the attack.
And notice how the geniuses at Fox Sports who were constantly writing about him and condemning him and criticising him and going, Latrell's playing like shit, he's crap, all that sort of stuff. How they've not said a fucking word since he started playing really good footy over the last 2 weeks.
They've shut up.
Not a peep.
Yep. And it's just great to watch him play. It's fantastic to see this really good footy player who was just amazing as a centre, and to see him decide to, he could have stayed in the centres for 15 years, right? Yeah. That's how good he is. He's like, no, I want to try and be fullback. I want to be a fullback knowing that it might cost me rep jerseys. And he went back there, he struggled, and now as he's starting to get it, it's like, oh man, how many fullbacks can throw some of the passes he was throwing?
It's insane.
It's amazing. And he's he's now running off the back of Cody Walker. That combination with him is going to be really good as time goes on. If they had a decent forward pack, they'd be a scary team to play against. Unfortunately, their forward pack is terrible. They've got a good young fullback. He could be playing fullback for 10 years at this level. And if he is, man, such a good player.
Absolutely. I think we've gone off track again.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. That's good, though. Look, we'll close the door on the NRL by Super League. Stupid idea.
Yeah.
It's not even an idea. What it was a brain fart.
Yeah, pretty much like everything Phil Gould's come out with over the last 8 months. It's just a verbal diarrhea.
Yeah. There was something else you said we're going to do. I can't remember what it was now.
Well, I said that what we should do is look through the contenders and the pretenders.
Yep.
I reckon we should save that for the next episode, though. That's a whole episode in itself, I reckon.
Fair enough. We can do that.
Yeah.
What else should we chuck in here, man? We've still got a bit of time on up our sleeves.
Well, they've had to shift the Melbourne Storm's home game
Ah, yes.
because of COVID-19 has exploded again down there in Victoria. They've moved it to Cogra Oval, basically, from Amy Park. So that was an interesting one. They also are looking to move Penrith's game against, I believe it's South Sydney, from Campbelltown Stadium to Cogra Oval as well, because the Campbelltown Stadium's getting a bit chewed up from all the footy that's been played there, which I can't believe no one thought that would happen.
So yeah, look, a lot of the reason for the Storm one too. One of the reasons is one of the AFL teams, I think it might have been Essendon, had a player test positive to coronavirus.
Yeah, and he basically he hasn't infected them, but he contaminated a certain amount of the playing staff at that club. And so they've got some issues there, and they've got some issues in Victoria in general. Like, what's it like for you? Because you live down there. Are you worried about this?
May I share an anecdote from today?
Yeah, go for it.
Now, start with, I just want to say that, yes, I did behave like a cunt in the end, but it's justified.
Okay.
I'm sitting on the train going to work. And it's like this golden rule. You know, there's just certain things in society. They just know there's certain things that you just do. You don't have to be told. Yeah. And one of them at the moment is you don't share a seat with someone else.
Yeah.
So, right, you find a vacant seat, you go sit there, everyone stays nice and well apart. So I'm sitting in one of these seats there, and then after about 4 or 5 stops, a woman gets on the train. There's a seat not far away which is empty.
Yeah.
She walks past it and sits on a seat next to me. And I'm talking, there's no gap between us. She sits right next to me.
Yeah.
And I look at her and I say, are you right? Like, there's a seat over there. Why don't you go sit over there? You know, social distancing.
Yeah.
Why don't you move? And she looks at me, you know, and with very rude tone says, I can sit wherever I like. And then she puts her headphones on.
Oh, really?
I said, you rude piece of shit.
Yeah.
And she took her headphones off. She says, what did you just say? And I stood up and I said, fuck you. And then I farted in her face and then I walked away.
Wow.
Yes, that all happened.
I tell you what.
I went, why is it that in the end, after I behaved like that, I'm the responsible one? Because I got up and left. I went,
well, you've run into a Karen. That's what's happened.
And this is the problem. There are too many people out there who are getting on trains who aren't going to work, who are doing that shit. And essential workers like myself are the ones impacted. And this is the problem with too many people in our society at the moment. There's too many selfish bastards out there who don't give a shit about what they're doing and how they might impact others. Because with the line of work I do, if someone gets coronavirus and they go on a train before they're realising that they've got the symptoms and they spread that shit onto me and I take it to work before I realise I've got it, I'm dealing with several thousand grocery orders per day. God knows how many people I could infect and how many people around Melbourne that could infect in an instant. I'm talking within the space of a few hours.
Yeah.
And there's no way they're going to shut that down. And the worst thing about that is online shopping then has to come to a halt. Think of the fucking implications of that.
Yeah.
This is the thing that frustrates me so much about it. And there's so many fucking idiots in society who don't give a fuck. They just want to do what I want to do. I'm sick of being in lockdown all the time going, do it. You have to be in lockdown. There's people out there who need you to be in lockdown. It's bad enough I've got to go and risk my fucking health and whatnot. Because, you know, I'm risking my own family's health by going to work. I do that so you can all get food and deliveries, you know, delivered to your house so you don't have to go to the shops and risk your own health.
See, this is why I did my lockdown and I went basically into bunker mode. I shut everything down, didn't leave the house or anything like that. And it was because I knew that it was then up to me. You know, I couldn't go out and be like, I knew that there were going to be people that just were too dumb to work out what you've got to do like that, you know. And luckily in New South Wales, it seems to have settled right down now. I mean, we're only getting the international visitors are bringing it in, and they're all in quarantine anyway. It's really worrying what's happening in Victoria. I think it was 16 today and 19 the day before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're real bad numbers. They're what we were getting in our peak, I think, in New South Wales. So
it's second wave stats.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And
it's taken 2 weeks of AFL rounds because that's pretty, this is the thing. The AFL's been talking about, going back to getting 25% of capacity in stadiums and stuff like that. I think was the figure that's been thrown around at one stage.
Mm-hmm.
Which, when you think about it, given that the 2 or 3 games a week are played at the MCG and it holds close to 100,000, you're looking at 20,000 people going to the MCG for a game of AFL. Sure, you can space them out a lot in a big stadium like that. That's not the problem. The problem is they're all going to be queued up outside, and they're not going to queue up 2 meters apart. They're going to queue up close to one another.
Yeah, look, they're saying that this weekend the Broncos will be able to have 10,000 people up there in Brisbane. And I know the Queensland numbers in general are very, very different, but I still think it's a bit early. I really do.
Early.
I think that with the 200 odd people that they've been allowing to games has been fine because they're nowhere near the playing surface, first of all. They're all isolated up in their boxes, and 200 people, they can disperse really, really quickly out the back of a stadium. They're not going to be hanging around and stuff. But you get 10,000 people, it's a different scenario, and
especially when you consider that with Lang Park, there's only one train station nearby, so they're all going to walk to that if they need to go somewhere. And there's no parking because it's a strange sports ground. We don't have parking at them.
No.
So you're going to take the train.
Yeah. Having parking near a place where 50,000 people are going to gather, it's just, why would you do that?
Yeah, mindless. What a waste of space.
Ridiculous. But yeah, look, I think that they're in Victoria. I thought it was a smart move not to play the Storm games down there. I think that the NRL should be applauded for making that move really quickly.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, I think the AFL is probably going to get another round or two and they'll be shut down again.
Well, the Essendon game from last weekend has had to be postponed. So because of that one player. So they've already got, one game now on hold.
Mm-hmm.
And, man, if they find out that player who tested positive may have actually been positive the week before, then the team who Essendon played against the week before may have to sit out. And the team that they played last week may have to sit out. I mean, you're already looking at 4 teams being put out.
Yeah.
This is the thing, is that no crowd should have been attending games, in my view, until we had 0 cases going on in this country.
Well, look over in New Zealand. They had 0 cases for a couple of weeks, played a couple of games of rugby union, and all of a sudden cases started popping up out of nowhere.
Yep.
So you can never tell. No, you never tell.
You're not going to know how many people have got it until you test everyone. And at the moment, that is just not logistically possible.
No.
So you're taking risks all the time. And I'm not one of those people out there who think that, this virus is going to kill me or anything like that.
Mm.
I just don't want to be carrying it around. I don't want to be the person who's guilty of spreading it to other people, especially via my workplace.
Yeah.
And so it's somewhat selfish to some extent by telling people who don't need to be out in public to not go on trains for my benefit, because I'm sacrificing myself to make sure everyone else can have stuff delivered to them so they don't have to go out.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit of, give and take.
See, I wouldn't like to get it, because if I come down with any sort of illness, I can't give the people what they want, which is this podcast, and I'd hate to deprive people of that.
Yeah, man, I could help you through that. I've got a bit of experience with illness.
Yeah, just a bit.
Just a bit. I can help you through that. I can cover for you. I can help you out. I can guide you through it. You'll be fine.
That would be great.
Yeah. Don't you worry about that one, mate. Don't you worry. I got your back. I got you.
You know what you should do, I reckon, because for people that, oh man, I'm getting.
Oh,
Man.
answer it.
Nah, I can't.
Oh.
And I just got to message them
Okay.
and say,
What should Freaky message this person?
Hey?
What should Freaky message to this person? Sorry, I cannot speak right now. I'm busy with a goat.
I'm busy with the goat.
And when I say busy, I mean busy.
Busy. It's not what it sounds like. I'm only fucking it.
That's right.
What were we talking? Oh, yeah. You should show people on Instagram. We won't say what it is, but you should show them the gift that I got you.
Yes. Geez, we give a few subtle clues in a recent conversation on Twitter about that.
Yeah, they were subtle ones.
They were. But ladies and gentlemen, I will take a photo of it, and it's all I can say is it's glorious.
It is pretty glorious. I was very excited when I saw it. So, yeah, people can see that if they jump onto the Instagram account. What's the Instagram account's? Is it Fergo Freak Pod?
That's the one.
Excellent.
I'll take a photo of it after this episode, and I'll pop it up on there so people can check it out.
Excellent. That sounds like a plan.
Absolutely. Yeah, so that's a bit of coronavirus fear out of the way. Speaking of coronavirus once more, I think Luke Thompson is due to arrive in Australia in the next week or two.
He's still not here.
He's still not here?
I don't know. I'm asking you.
Oh.
I thought he'd be here and in isolation.
No, I thought he was going to arrive at the end of the month, and then he'd be waiting for 2 weeks, and then he'd be able to play.
Okay, yeah, I thought he'd just flown straight over. It was interesting to see James Graham got Jack of the Dragons and is on his way over to England. You know, I can understand why. Apparently he's going to go over to England, play out the season with St Helens, and then come back and have a media career over here, which is really cool because he's a real good thinker on the game. You know, he's outspoken, but not just to say shit. You know what I mean?
He's outspoken, but not in the same way that Paul Gallen is.
Yeah, he's not a fucking idiot.
Yeah. And I don't know why, but even though he's from the north of England, I can actually understand him more than Sam Burgess.
Ooh, that's a good point. I think you're right. I think I can understand. I don't have too many problems with the English accent.
I'm good with the English accent.
Yeah.
My father-in-law's from northern England. I can understand the English accent as well. I'm not talking about not understanding what Sam Burgess is saying.
Yeah.
Because of the way he talks.
Yeah.
It's more about the fact that I don't understand what he's saying because he sounds stupid.
I wouldn't have said that, but I don't know. I think that
he's not an analyst.
No, I don't think he's either.
He's also not amusing. At the moment,
That's
I've seen from him on Fox Sports is being targeted because he's British as having shit teeth. I went, wow, what a great joke that is from Matty Johns. How hard did he think that one up? And that's pretty much it.
Hang on a second. This is like 97% of the things I used to say when I chat with the Poms on forums. I just talk about their bad teeth.
This is 100% of all of Matty John's jokes, though. You at least had 3% of other content.
Yeah. I put in 3% of like...
soap dodging.
Yeah, there was a little bit of soap dodging there. I used to tell them, like, they invented the language. Why don't they speak it properly? You know?
Sam Burgess, case in point.
Yeah.
Look, it's... I think... Imagine how bad you'd have to be as an NRL coach to force a player to go and play in the Super League.
Yeah, it's not good. You know what? Mary McGregor said last weekend that he was giving up the ability, I guess, to pick the teams that ran out there for the Dragons. And, like, if you're a coach, that isn't like you could strip back if you said you could strip back everything a coach does except one thing, that's the biggest thing he could do for a team on the weekend. I think that one thing would be the team he selects, you know? He could stay away from the team for an entire week and then turn up on the day and say, this is the team I want to play. and I think that he'd still be able to affect the result pretty well. But he's given that up. So bravo to Paul McGregor, because he's just removed himself completely from the entire coaching structure at the St. George Illawarra Dragons. It's fantastic.
I think it's a passive-aggressive move to try and remove himself from anything to do with results. Because you can just go, well, I didn't pick the teams. I can't be blamed. Bang, contract extension.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess it's like, I mean, it's almost the Trent Barrett move. Like, I know I'm the coach, but the results, not on me, man. Not on me. I'm actually a really good coach, even though my record suggests I'm a bad coach.
Now, I did see some comments over the last 2 weeks about the Dragons. So after they beat a woefully out-of-form Cronulla Sharks, the Fox Sports Twitter account came out saying, "Are the Dragons back?"
I saw that.
I replied, "Back from what? Back to where?"
Yeah.
And now they're saying, "Oh, are the Dragons back on track after winning back-to-back games?" I went, they just beat the worst team of the last year and a half. And then a very out-of-sorts Cronulla team as well. Neither team's been in the top 8 for a while. And you're saying, oh, they're back. Let's not forget that the 2 weeks before that, they lost to the Warriors and the Bulldogs.
Yeah,
they have had the easiest last 4 weeks of any team in the comp and are 2-2 in those 4 games. They are not back.
They're terrible. Even in the wins, they haven't played well.
This week they've got the Roosters, I believe. Let's see how back they are.
Yeah, they're going to get trounced. The Roosters will be without James Tedesco because of that hit that Mike Acevo did when he ran over the top of him and just about killed him. But yeah, it's
which would have been the hit of the week had it not been for Matt Moylan running into a wall that moved at 120 k's an hour.
Yeah, Matt Moylan got hit so hard. I'm officially saying that now he's old Matt Moylan. Like, DWZ knocked about 27 years out of his life with that tackle. It was fantastic.
And I don't know if you saw, but there was footage of Matt Moylan afterwards. And while he looked like he was happy and fine and everything, they showed him from behind, and he's got a bit of a ball patch on the back of his head. Cameron Smith-esque.
Oh, really? Really? He's starting to lose his hair.
Yeah, I think the hit did it.
Probably. Knocked his fucking hair out of the back of his head.
God damn, that was a brutal hit. I thought the biggest hit I'd seen in the last few years was when Cohen Hess poleaxed Mitch Moses when Moses just kicked the ball. And Hess was just a fraction late. But it was like a train squashing an ant. But this one...
like that,
oh my God.
I think that hit's the best hit I've seen. I'm trying to think when there's been another big hit like that. There was a lot of big hits on the weekend, actually. There was some fucking massive hits. It's been good. It's been good.
Oh, that hit, though. God,
yeah, that was the best. That was the best.
That was just so sweetly timed. It was brutal.
I think between that in defence and then Sevo when he ruined James Tedesco's life, like they're the two best attack and defensive hits we've seen this year easily.
See, that's the thing we learned too with that fend from Sevo. When you lock that elbow and your arm is dead straight, you can plough through anyone.
Yeah.
And that was just a perfectly timed fend. So he leant into it as well. Mm-hmm. Arm was locked tight, and it's like trying to tackle someone who's holding out a crowbar into your chest. You're not going to grab it. You're not going to stop him. You're just going to end up hurt. Inglis was the best at it.
Yeah, Inglis was definitely the best. I was going to say that's the sort of fend that Inglis did every time he put a fend on someone.
Yeah, you just brutalize someone.
Yeah.
Boom. Dragons. Enjoy the success that's just been there, because I think I'm looking on here. The next 3 games are the Roosters, the Raiders, and then Manly.
Well, they will all flog them. They'll all flog them. I mean, Manly played really well, considering they'd lost a number of players during that game. The Raiders have some issues. I think we should do an episode about the Raiders. I've got some real concerns about the Raiders.
Yeah, look, I think, without going into it too much, I think their forwards are a bit heavy. I think this faster, not so much faster game. I think what we've got at the moment, I don't think the game's actually faster. I think we just have less stoppages. And
Yeah,
we can debate whether that's good or bad, but at the moment there's less stoppages with those six agains, and I think that's catching out the Raiders a bit. The forwards.
I think that they haven't got a halfback. George Williams is not an NRL quality halfback, and I think that Hodgson at hooker is not an NRL quality hooker. His service is terrible. The decisions he makes in attack is terrible. They need to replace those two players. And I think if they did that, they'd be a much better side for it.
Yeah, we'll get into that one a bit more in depth. I'll dig out some stats and stuff as well. And we'll make it a proper, genuine analysis. Why the hell not?
Yeah, let's break them down. We maybe try and get somebody that's a Raiders supporter on too. How about that?
Greeno?
Yeah, Greeno. Let's get Greeno on.
There we go.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, I guess was there anything else you want to chuck up there?
No, that's it. I hope everyone enjoyed the 1996 podcast that we did last time out, because we've got some really good feedback from it. It was a very, very long episode, but I'm sure it's one that you've probably broken down into 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 listens, depending on how much time you've got for your podcasts. We will be doing 1997 sometime in the near future. It'll just be when we've got a break in the footy that, maybe not much is happening, and we'll go, let's do 97.
Exactly. 97 will be a fun one.
Yeah, it will be. It'll be great.
Now, have we had any emails?
We actually did, now that you mention it, because it was a while ago, because it was before that 1996 episode that we did. So, let me bring up my emails. Okay. That one. Okay. This is from Brendan. And he said the comment is 6 again rule. When 6 again is called, to stop the defensive team giving away another infringement on the early set to gain control and the upper hand, what if the attacking team can take the option on the first tackle to kick the ball out in the full, as they would have done if the play was stopped for a penalty? This gives the attacking team the option of taking the original penalty without stopping play, or they could just continue with their 6 again. The question would be, if they can take the kick out, could they then restart the next set where the ball went out, as they do now after a penalty kick, or take the ball back to the original infringement and take a penalty kick at goal? I hope this makes sense.
It does, but I think at the moment, the way the game's going, I think if you've got that momentum, teams are just going to run with it. Because more often than not, when that 6 again call comes up, I've seen quite a lot. As soon as that call goes up, dummy half does a scoot.
Yeah.
Because the defence has stopped moving briefly, just for half a beat. So that dummy half will go for a run and just bang. That defensive line is then in retreat mode the whole time. And the roll on after a 6 again seems to be pretty massive. And it almost makes up for the kick for touch. And so the benefit of not doing the kick for touch is that the opposition team doesn't get a rest either.
Yeah, I know. I think I would rather the play stop and there be a kick for touch and you get your defensive line set rather than the 6 again. I think we've seen how devastating the 6 again calls have been. And the problem I have with them is they're so inconsistent. Like, they're super inconsistent. And it's not me attacking the referees saying that, because the referee's been asked to do too much. But they're just, the referees are just calling what they see, but they're not seeing everything. So they're inconsistent.
Yeah, they're generally calling on the run and with very little support.
Yeah.
It's an interesting one. I'm not hugely a fan of the 6 again thing. I think we're seeing at the moment that it's creating a huge gap between the generally good teams and everybody else. And it's not one of these things that's helping to even the game out. It's causing a pretty big divide between the top 8 and the bottom 8.
Yeah, I agree. And Like, I mean, we're starting to see. I reckon there's maybe 9 teams you could look at as being in the top 8 mix. You know, and I know that sounds silly, but with obviously ninth being the West Tigers, you know, that's their place.
Yeah.
But it's very early in the season for it to be lining up like that, isn't it?
It is. And that's a bit of a concern. I don't know how you come up with a solution that is doing what they're trying to do, which is clear up the ruck.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the moment, what they've done is they've cleared up, in my view, from what I've seen so far, they've cleared up a bit of the wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
Not much. Play the ball speeds aren't much quicker, if at all, which suggests that there's still the same amount of wrestle going on the ground.
Well, the thing that I've noticed as a Panthers fan, man, we don't get 6 again calls. Like, we played the Melbourne Storm on the weekend, we didn't get one of them.
I didn't watch that game, but I have noticed that some teams are better at getting them than others. And I don't think it's because of any, ref bias. I don't think ref bias actually exists. I think it's just some teams have got good at picking out how to get them.
Yep. Yeah, it's a weird one. It's a weird one. I just think,
because I mean, any rule changes goes on, there's always going to be teams that are much quicker at finding out how to exploit it than others.
Yeah.
That's just what teams do these days. And the sooner that the game and everybody else realizes that it's actually teams, clubs, players, coaches exploiting the rules that is making the job hard for referees and not referees being shit.
Yeah.
That's the time when we can go, right, how do we change this? Because I don't think all clubs have been playing in the 100% in the best interest of the game for quite a while now. They've all been trying to find ways to work around the rules and find loopholes and exploit things, because we've always had to keep tinkering with rules to try and alleviate some of these, some of this behaviour by teams.
So I don't mind the behaviour by teams, to be honest with you.
It's expected, but I mean the thing is, you can't tinker all the time because you're just yielding to them. You either got to be hard and say, right, we're not going to allow you to do this anymore, which is what the referees were doing in 2018, or you just keep letting them do it and stop changing the rules. Just go, fine, if you're going to do it, then so be it, go for it.
Yeah.
But constant tinkering, it's not helping anyone.
I think that I would like the powers to say, these are rugby league's rules. If you don't like them, we don't care. Yeah. And stop listening to Channel 9 commentators when it comes to rules. I mean, there was a game on the weekend where a player knocked on. You know who it was? It was, I think it was Clint Gutherson. Was it Clint Gutherson?
He doesn't do knock-ons.
Well, there was a player, he grabbed the ball and he brought it down, and it looked, in fast speed, it looked like he just brought the ball down and scored a try. It looked amazing. We looked at it on the replay. He hadn't actually done that. He'd lost the ball. And I can't remember what game it was. But anyway, fucking Phil Gould and Andrew Johns were saying, I know he knocked the ball on, but in fast speed, it didn't look like it. And I was thinking, these are the two idiots that would whinge about, well, what if it was a grand final if they'd given the try?
Yeah. That's the conflict that they're in now, though, because they lobbied so hard to get back to one referee.
Mm-hmm.
They cannot in their bones know that they can criticise referees, because this is what they wanted and they've got what they wanted.
Yeah, exactly.
So They don't want to look like hypocrites.
Yep. And they are.
Of course they are. But yeah, that was a good email.
Yeah, it was a good one, a thought-provoking one. That's why we like emails, because it gets us talking about the game, and it's interesting to get another perspective. So if anyone wants to send an email, go to podcast@leaguefreak.com, send us an email, and we'll read it out. We read every single one we get.
Absolutely, we do. Yeah, I guess so. That's it for this episode, eh?
Yeah, we've smashed it. Another awesome episode.
A little bit loose.
Yeah, sometimes they've got to be, don't they?
Sometimes it's got to be done.
Yeah.
Everyone, you can check us out on Twitter at FergoFreakPod. We're on Instagram, FergoFreakPod. We're on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn. Make sure you go in there to YouTube and subscribe.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the videos. Leave comments if you like. We'll have to do an episode where we'll go through some of the YouTube comments, I think.
That would be cool, yeah.
Yeah. And, make sure you subscribe to the podcast on your podcast program device thingamy.
Yeah.
I'm an absolute tech nerd. We'll catch you all next time.